Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Nervous System Mastery Part 3. I'm so excited to drop in with you into this next level teaching transmission. I feel like in this space, what we get to do is to, have bite-sized nuggets of information that we can use, we can alchemize, we can implement immediately, we can, just drop into that sensation of actually being safe, being you, being safe, receiving your highest vision life, just being safe in this freaking world. And without further ado, I just really want to dive in here. If you are joining us live today, then I'm so excited to welcome you. And if you're watching the replay, I invite you to come on to the next live stream with us and maybe get picked to be in one of the hot seat coaching sessions with me. So here you'll be able to get live coaching with me. You can come in and ask your questions. You can come in and, just jazz with me on all kinds of things connected with nervous system mastery, all kinds of things within feminine embodiment, within somatics, with how to implement things right away in your life. And if you are the kind of woman who just wants to go all in, I invite you to come into the method with us or to come and join our next live embodiment retreat, which is happening tomorrow on the 8th of August. Lionsgate portal. We're going all the way into flow. And flow is all about dropping into that magical, water intelligence. It's about truly leaning into your feminine, into that yin energy, into that experience of turning the volume up on receiving more, on metabolizing, on allowing things to truly land for you. And if you're in the method, of course, you get access to those two channels. You get access to the method and you get access to the Lionsgate portal. So without further ado, I want to go into one of the topics that is like such a heat in all of my coaching spaces. And it's, this way of living your most extraordinary life. And we will necessarily and obviously going to be meeting bumpers on our road. This is completely natural. It's completely normal. Because when we are expanding, of course, there's an energy to hold at that higher level. And there's also a way on how to be in the world with that. And what I see a lot of women, bump up against the most is, typically the women who come into my space are very advanced students of life. They are actually here to create, amazing results for themselves, but also for other people. They're leaders, they're visionaries, they're multidimensional beings who are here on the planet to literally call people into a higher level of love, into a higher level of abundance, into a higher level of just experiencing life at, the pit and the core. And so these women don't just need coaching, to get better. Very often these women are already living extraordinary lives and they just want to understand how they can hold that highest level of frequency where they can really drop into this experience of life without turning down their volume, without turning down their expression, without turning down their voice, without turning down or shrinking back from being visible and coming, into the spaces where they're most needed at the highest level. So they don't need to know how to go from bad to good. They're literally in the good already. They just want to understand how to hold higher levels of extraordinary without, contorting, without people pleasing, without falling into the patterns that necessarily we're going to be bumping up against because we're women. We have connected on this planet, as one of the first generations who basically get to live amazing lives, and we don't need to justify, we don't need to shrink back, we don't need to hold back. And, we're also not here, to fight the patriarchy. Like, that's not even on our radar. What we are here for is to truly lean in and live amazing embodied lives. And so these women naturally will come up against certain problematics. And so one of the topics, the hot topic, is literally about the gray zone and the black zone. And today I really want to take you into that world with me, where you get to have your extraordinary life, and where you literally stop condescending on yourself. You stop, explaining yourself to other people. You stop justifying why you shift so fast. Because here's the thing. One of the things that really happens to these women is that, they can wake up on one morning and literally feel like they are completely different women than 3 weeks ago, even a week ago. And that is because they're used to being in quantum leaps all the time. Like, they live this phenomenal life and they know exactly what they desire, and they're leaning into that soft, receptive space. And so sometimes we have these bumpers on the road where our old selves just are going like, oh wait, this is too fast. Like, you can't have this much. Like, this, like, you're not allowed. Like, and these are not even our own voices. But very often these are voices from the past. These are, deeply ingrained and rooted systems that, are literally drenched inside of our nervous system and in our cells from decades ago and even centuries ago, where it just wasn't safe to be women. So we know that when we are living on that high level life, where we're receiving amazing levels of love, amazing levels of financial abundance, amazing levels of visibility and impact, naturally we're going to be bumping up against this, because somatically we are wired to not, necessarily be out there, right? Like, it has literally just been about a couple of decades that we're even allowed to have a bank account, that we're even allowed to, buy a house or property, that we're even allowed to choose who we're desiring to marry. There is so much in the history of women's evolution. And so our bodies often are trying to just keep us safe. And in that keeping safe, we sort of feel sometimes like we are supercharging in one direction, where we're literally living this amazing life and we know it's there for us. And then equally, there's this feeling of, why me? Like, feelings of guilt, feelings of shame about actually living this embodied lifestyle. And I really hold my heart so dearly for, all of our ancestors who literally came and onto this planet and didn't have this experience of being a free, liberated woman. And simultaneously, that's just not where we're going. That's just not what we are moving into. And so, with this gray zone and black zone, this experience of living this extraordinary life where, excuse me, where we get to decide on the speed at which things come through for us. And, and that it doesn't matter what we choose. We can choose the gray zone area. Today we're going to deepen into the gray zone area, but we can also choose the black zone. And there are two very different, distinct ways on how we lean into these two frameworks. The gray zone really being the kind of lifestyle where you almost purposely slow down your processes. You slow down your business. You slow down your dating. You slow down your lifestyle. You slow down so that you can actually spot when your nervous system is creating these, knee-jerk reactions, where so that you can actually see and become fully lucid of what is actually there in, as a roadblock, so that you can release it slowly, consistently. And this slowing down process, this gray zoning, is literally, made for us to actually level up in a slow pace, so that, whenever we are experiencing quantum leaps, we give our nervous system that space so that it can calibrate slowly and it can come up with us, right? Because very often, visionary women, we have these, high levels of energy running in our higher energy centers, which means we see a lot. We see like laser, like we radar the world with our eyes and with our third eye experience, because we can literally see that there is at the cosmic level, at the highest level where God resides, there is so much potential. There's so much creativity. And so we go out and about in the world and we see a lot. And we also see things for ourselves. And often we see things for our clients. But that can create this kind of knee-jerk reaction in our nervous system, because our nervous system is trying to keep us safe. It's trying to keep us, in surviving versus, thriving. So it's trying to monitor, okay, so how far can I go before it feels unsafe? So gray zoning literally is about slowing down your manifestation process on purpose so that you can spot all of these knots inside your nervous system, all of these boulders of this feels like too much, right? So you can melt through them, right? And this is literally what we're going to be, laser focusing on in flow, which is starting tomorrow. We're going to lean into all of that intelligence of gray zoning things, of slowing down. And what comes up a lot in the gray zone is our erratic self, right? Our this self who sees, well, there's so much to yet have, let's go. Right? There's this erraticness, this impatience, this we need to go further along, we need to supercharge because we only have this amount of time on the planet, we need to go faster. And so that can create this push-pull dynamic in women where they can clearly see, I am meant for so much more and let's freaking go. Right? But then having that capacity to know, no, wait, we actually get to gray zone here. We actually get to, turn up the heat slowly so that we don't experience this hot, cold shower experience, but instead we're just tempering our way towards our dreams. We're going slowly, at peace, in pace, so that our nervous system can just slowly regulate and co-regulate with the world on the outside and the world on the inside. And what I've seen, what is the most beautiful thing about gray zoning is that, funny enough, it very often speeds up our manifestation process. It very often creates, waves that are much bigger than when we are in the black zone, okay? Because when we're in the black zone, we're literally going, no, we're going on haywire, we're going all the way on top, okay? But in the gray zone, what is really the gift of the gray zone is that you truly get to modulate slowly and you get to build a lot of range in your awareness, okay? So next week, we're going to be dropping deeper into the black zone and how to, lick your wounds after a black zone moment. But the gray zone, really, I see, especially for women who are in this, high success level, high performance, high experiences of life, gray zoning can sometimes be the pattern interrupter to their anxiety, the pattern interrupter to their stress levels, the pattern interrupter to the way they lead their teams, the pattern interrupter, the way that they coach their clients, the way that they lean into relationship. And very often the gray zone is the greatest pattern interrupter for them because they're so used to going fast, big, and bold. Okay. And with that experience, what tends to happen is all of this stuff is going to come up. Like, you know, we'll be in relationships with someone and we'll just want to go faster. Because in the going faster, what really tends to happen is we don't need to feel. We don't need to feel so much because we're so connected with our vision. And so we're more in that, what I would call masculine energy, but it's not just masculine energy, of course, but it's just this higher vision. And you can supercharge into the world with, this big, bold mission. But very often that is going to slow down your manifestation process later. And right now in my chapter of this exact chapter of my life, I'm definitely in a gray zone. I'm definitely in a gray zone where I'm purposely slowing down everything, purposely slowing down my lifestyle experience and trying, to, unplug from this massive, massive vision, right? And that is because I have learned my duties from being in black zoning experiences. And black zones can be amazing, right? But they also have a ripple effect. And we will talk more about that next week. So just to give you a very short, personal example of what this gray zoning experience is looking for me, which I feel this gray zone has literally been here for about 2 years approximately. And it literally changed the way that I hold and even desire to hold space for women. Because before that, I'd be very much in this, okay, let's crack on this, like, let's get you big, massive results. Let's push this high level energy. And that was extraordinary. And I know that, this level of coaching can literally make things look like they move very fast, very impactful. But then what I realized is that actually the women in my spaces who tend to be more steady paced and who tend to have, long-term results that actually they can hold, were all of these women who were deciding for themselves that actually gray zoning is the space where, that they actually need, because they've been black zoning all of their lives, running, supercharging, going fast and bold and fierce. But actually in the gray zone, what really starts to happen is that they don't need to stop their entire life in order to heal. They can literally keep walking while the stakes are getting higher. They can, keep healing all the way that they're taking massive decisions in their lives, because they know they're in a gray zone. And everything is there to nourish their power. Everything is there to, alchemize the old life body in a way where they, maybe went very fast and had to make, disruptive decisions and move themselves out of toxicity fast. And that is really where black zoning is so powerful. But the problem with the black zone is that your sensitivity starts to brittle a little bit. And so life is made in this way. We're made in cycles. We're made in, higher levels of expansion. And in these higher levels of expansion, what really tends to happen is that we will have to make a pause at some point in order to, catch up with all of the things that with all of the growth that we've experiencing. So in this gray zone experience, what I've noticed for women the most is that they're able to level up slowly, one by one. They just keep leveling up, but they never actually have to stop because their stamina is made for the marathon, right? They're here for long-term vision, long-term experiences, long-term love, long-term containers, long-term relationships. And so with a gray zone, that is possible, right? It may look very slow on the outside and like you're not moving, but with a gray zone, what really tends to happen is that your power is reserved and you get to accumulate and have more energy, right, on your journey. In fact, the power of the gray zone is that it is life-giving. It is nourishing. It is beautiful, right? You really start to move this yin phenomenon where you're weaving and spiraling slowly, just like the waves in the ocean that come and go. And even if there's a bigger wave coming, you get to hold it because you're in a freaking gray zone, and you can slow down your life. You can slow down your thought processes. You can slow down the way that the pace is in your external world. And with that comes, a certain level of mastery that is not available with a black zone. Okay. Now, this isn't to denigrate black zones. I love black zones. I think sometimes it is so crucial to use black zoning, because black zoning is literally, going to have such a high amount of energy. And sometimes we want that, right? Now, this doesn't mean that we can't have black zone experiences within the gray zone experiences. I know for sure that, with love and relationships, I used to black zone a lot, and now I'm in a beautiful gray zone experience. But, in other areas of my life, I'm in I'm freaking black zoning there. But this isn't about, having one zone being, the bad one and the other one, the good one, because then you're going to just activate your reptilian brain, which is all just looking about for the predator, so we can hunt down the predator. This is about having lucidity, having awareness, so that you can actually choose what you really desire to experience from that embodied version of you, rather than just, being a victim to it and not knowing what is happening to you. So certain signs that a gray zone is required in your life is actually when things look like they're not moving. When you are continuously supercharging in one direction, and then things start to come up, like obstacles come up, or you start to, date a new man, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, but why isn't, this doesn't feel good. And you're having to look at all of the places where you're disembodied and dysregulated, so that you can actually call sovereignty into that place. And so when things are slowing down in the outer world, when things are not responding to you at hyper speed the way that you want it, this is the place where you actually get to spot, okay, am I my maiden? Am I immature maiden? Am I in this immature revolutionary? Am I trying to, mind control everyone around me and trying to change everything around me so that I feel safe? Because these are probably signs that you need to gray zone. Because if you don't, what really tends to happen, the things that are really trying to find you, that are really there to come in and bless you and be your experience to receive deeper, right? You'll just miss it. And those things will unplug from you, right? Because you're trying to push too hard. So the gray zone really invites us into the feminine. It invites us to exhale and receive what is rightfully yours, but also the truth of what is actually there, right? And so I really love gray zoning, because in gray zoning, we get to have fully amplified lucidity over our personal power, and where we are moving our power, where we're moving our attention, okay? And it is so beautiful when, women all of a sudden wake up. Oh, so actually all of these things that are happening aren't happening because I'm doing something wrong, or because I'm with the wrong people, or because, I need to fix more. This is just about me slowing down so that I actually get to enjoy it. Yes. And that is amazing, because this is literally when you stop running. And in that stopping to run, you're healing your nervous system patterns with the flight and fight response that are literally wired to make you run so that you can just belong, right? And you can just fill up your life with stuff that doesn't mean anything. In gray zones, we literally are also in a certain level of purge. So we're releasing the thing that is not actually the highest level of requirement. And we begin to see that over time, right? And this is literally where, I'm having you sit on messages before you respond to them. I'm having you, remove things off of your calendar, and instead of putting everything in 1 week, see if you can place it onto a month, right? This is where you notice you actually want to fight and respond and judge and, criticize and, get things right immediately. And you go, no, let's slow down. Let's see what else is there for me to receive. What other information can I collect before I use the fullness of the energy, and then I place it in that empowered level. So gray zoning conversations are also so healing for women, because we literally don't need to do much, right? We're just receiving and listening, like doing deep listening, exploring the deeper truth in a conversation, in a relationship, in a situation. And that changes the entire game, right? Because you're saving your life force energy in gray zones. And that's very powerful, because when you're saving your energy, that means you have more energy to circulate for yourself. You have more time to circulate for yourself. And that also means that this energy and this time that you have, all of a sudden, will have a much higher level of quality. Okay? So I would love to hear in the comments like what you've experienced from this conversation. I respond to every single comment because I love connecting with you. And we have free resources as well. Make sure you DM me so that we can, send those out to you, or place you into our weekly or bi-weekly newsletter so that you can receive the whole magic. And if you really want to lean into this conversation of truly being in that yin experience of your life, I invite you to come into flow with us. Come flow with us. Come be in the deep waters of your mysterious but yet powerful, deeply grounded version of you, where you get to receive all of it and then some, right? And if you're enjoying this, then I would love to see you in our next live stream, where we will be diving into the black zone and what that means, and how to spot a black zone, how to lean into a black zone with power, how to prepare for a black zone, because there's something like a preparation that you can have, so that you can literally be the woman who can switch between gray zone and black zone and just use all of it for her power and all of it for our highest creation. No matter which pathway you choose, I'm so excited to see you through the other side of the gate. And I'm sending you so much love. Thank you for tuning in today.